Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
The U.S. men's national team is set to hire Mauricio Pochettino. I didn't even know his name was even in the hat. It was like, I didn't even know his hat was thrown into the ring for this U.S. men's national team job. Obviously, if you guys don't know, USA obviously got eliminated in the group stages of the Copa America, which was the final nail in the coffin. That was Greg Berhalter. So, which, as we all rejoice, but then now we had our fear of who the hell is going to coach this team when we were 2 years away, less than 2 years away from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And there were some scares. You know, Steve Cherundolo was a name, a very strong name. And then we saw Patrick Vieira. Some people have mixed feelings. Some people liked it. Wilfred Nancy was an MLS name that a lot of people were liking to hear. My guy, Pellegrino Matarazzo, somehow was back into the mix for it at one point. They tried to get Jurgen Klopp. That was laughable. Would have been awesome.
I would say that was the most polite, not going to happen, while also being shade at the same time.
Like, I was like, I mean, you know, way to reach for the stars.
Yeah, I guess it's that's a good way to put it.
But like, when I saw that headline, I was like, come on. Like, y'all really think the dude's literally taking a hiatus? Like,
he has said he is not coaching anywhere this year, and yet you're going to be like, oh, let's do it. All right, well, you tried.
You don't want to coach Christian Pulisic
again?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And Claudio Reyna again. Sorry, Gio, not Claudio, but Gio Reyna again.
Don't worry, we'll keep the Reyna family far away from you as possible. But yeah, so that was kind of funny. I know Gareth Southgate ends up leaving, stepping down from the England job. And the rumor was that he was going to take the USA job. Thank God.
Also, I just want to point out, leaving is a very nice way of saying he was forced out.
Nothing's ever mutual. I know that for a fact. You know, but just like how I mutually parted ways with the Houston Dynamo.
It might have been mutual, but not mutual with you included.
I wasn't I didn't think that was going to happen. Anyways, I wasn't in that plan. But I should really be careful when I talk about the Dynamo. But anyways, going back to the USA.
You're getting a cease and desist letter this episode. I'm sorry. They're sending it. Sir, you don't need to talk about your
if
your
I'm
time
not
with
on the
Dynamo again.
do not hire list, I'm definitely going to.
You're going to need to change in organizational leadership. Hopefully, Tim Howard brings in a whole new staff.
Tim Howard's like,
you get removed from the post.
Come back. You're good. Yeah. Come back. But yeah, so obviously names. I don't know. I was sweating a little bit because at the end of the day, I just thought it was going to be Mercy. I thought it was going to be Steve Cherundolo. Yeah. The whole time. It's going to be Cherundolo. Basically another Greg Berhalter, maybe more softly spoken Berhalter. So it was just like, I'm like, I don't know if I want this. Is it any better? It's not Berhalter. I guess that's some positive, but like I don't know. I wasn't really big on Cherundolo, and just in general, but yeah. So out of nowhere, just someone throws out Mauricio Pochettino. And if you guys haven't really like been listening to Insert Name FC from like the early years, we've taken a lot of shots at Mauricio Pochettino.
Cue the rewind footage here.
Because Pochettino was he actually was out of the Tottenham job, I believe, when we started the podcast, because it was like 2020?
2019. 2019 is when he got let go. So yeah.
Gets the PSG job. I remember me and Edward just kept messing with each other because like Barcelona didn't have a manager. We're like, maybe you guys get Pochettino. And then Real Madrid didn't have a manager, and then like maybe Pochettino goes to Real Madrid. We just kept messing with each other with the idea of Pochettino coaching our teams. Um, and yeah, we trolled Pochettino a little too much in this podcast, and I feel like in some sense that was like eventually was gonna bite us in the back. Like it was eventually gonna rear its ugly head to us of all the things that we've said about him. We didn't say anything bad, but we were just, hey,
Can we check the tapes on that one?
Pochettino's there. But yeah, so there was a rumor that popped out that potentially Pochettino was going to be the big name to be set to be the next U.S. men's national team coach, and I kind of brushed it off. I was like, because I wanted the account, I was like, this isn't a serious account. But then, of course, when you see Fabrizio Romano, you're like, where's the April Fool's? Where's the April? Yeah. Look, I'm gonna have to answer for a lot of the shit that I've said about Pochettino, and that's the only thing I'm afraid of. So
it's okay. We're gonna have to answer for one more here in just a second. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, I was gonna try to be nice about this, but I can't be nice about this. Is it better than Steve Trundle? Yeah. Is it better than Greg Berhalter? Sure.
I mean, he has international pedigree, obviously. He's Argentine.
Good international pedigree though.
That's up to be discussed. But like I said, so right now Pochettino has agreed to be the U.S. men's national team coach. I believe right now, there's actually a current financial ordeal going on with Chelsea, which that's just kind of hilarious. As how
surprise.
Hey, if you guys didn't think we were done talking about how Chelsea sucks right now, apparently Chelsea, which obviously they were mutually released. I put air quotes on the mutually part. And Chelsea owes Pochettino money. So, which per I believe by FIFA, he cannot accept another job until that is resolved. So, there's hope for you right there, Kelcey. Though I'm sure Chelsea's going to do whatever they need to do to get that taken care of. And so, like I said, at least if Pochettino is going to be the coach of the U.S. men's national team, which I figure is probably going to happen, since it seems that, especially now that you have ESPN talking about it, everyone has at least made their drop for it. Like I said, he has European experience. Going all the way back from his time as the manager for Espanyol. So Spanish football influence. I mean, if you're someone that likes that style of play with Spanish football, more technically sound football, that's something positive to take. But some of his career highlights is obviously Champions League finalist with Tottenham. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty fucking impressive because Tottenham is terrible. That was the highlight for Tottenham's whole life.
Thank goodness he was the coach of that Tottenham team, though.
He was the coach of that Tottenham team.
And couldn't pull out the trophy.
I mean, hey, look. Speaking of gambling, I was very happy that day because I hit a 3-bet parlay that day. I think in total of betting, I put $50 on it. So I had obviously Liverpool to win Liverpool to win the Champions League, Liverpool to win by 2 goals, and the score being 2-0. And I remember at one point I was just like, the second goal is just not coming. It's just not gonna happen, and that's fine, And I was like, I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not really. It's not like I really care if I win. And I think like the payout was like $500, and I was like, do I need $500? No, I don't need $500. And then all of a sudden, the Belgian player, I believe he was Belgium.
The striker?
Or Origi.
Divock Origi?
Yeah, he scores the second goal. And you would have maybe have thought I was a Liverpool fan at that moment. I probably would have kissed him if I was at the field. Because he got me $500. That's probably the most I've ever gotten from anybody. So
that was one of the few games I did put more than $5 on. I did put $10 on that game, and I won $100 something. It was a payout. Yeah, I'm more than happy with the way that turned out. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, super shout out to Pochettino for not being able to change his tactics by halftime.
Yeah, so great day for me. So I'm plus Tottenham lost, so that's just a win in general for me. I didn't like they were in the final, but you know what? Hey, it's hilarious to see them all crying because they lost in the final. It's like that's the closest you're gonna get to a trophy. Also that's the closest Harry Kane's ever gonna get to a trophy. Actually, that's all he's ever been able to do is just walk by the trophy.
Yeah, he got a medal for it. Good job, Harry Kane.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, and obviously he won with PSG, which was the year that featured Lionel Messi. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. But he only lasted there a year, so does that count?
Which he then took the Chelsea job, and we know Chelsea's not entirely his fault.
No, not even close. He continues the line of what I said earlier. If nobody listened to the Chelsea part earlier, simple answer is management sucked. And Pochettino tried to come in and be like, hey, let's fix this. And then they were like, no. And so he.
Frozen Kelcey is brought to you by. No, I'm just kidding.
To just depart. And there you go.
All right. So Kelcey's back. Oh, no, he's not.
I am back. All right. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, wait, maybe. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Maybe. No. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. So long story short, he, came to Chelsea. Chelsea's management sucks. He tells Chelsea's management, hey, let's fix our problem and let's grow from within. And Chelsea's management's like, no, we're going to sell Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah. And then obviously one of those two got sold. Pochettino agreed to mutually part ways and after that. So not totally his fault, but yeah, that one was still not pretty nonetheless.
Yeah. And then, so I will throw out the formation that Pochettino preferably uses, which is a 4-2-3-1 formation. Which if you're a US soccer fan, you might like that because obviously something that a lot of people have been asking for. Obviously you can ask Tactical Manager, 11 Yanks, those accounts that really focus more towards US soccer and how the US Soccer Federation is being ran. And I want to see this is a camp being used, an attacking midfielder being featured in a formation. We have probably a very solid actually we have plenty of natural.
We have three of them that start.
Obviously Gio Reyna, Christian Pulisic has actually been playing the 10 role for AC Milan this season. You have Malik Tillman, you have Taylor Booth, I would say, is more of a 10 than he is winger, but they've just been using him as a winger.
You have Weston if you're going to play that formation. Weston as a cam is a good one.
That or obviously keep him at the 8. It opens up a lot of, at least that formation opens up a lot of options as far as with the player pool that we have. Now, mind you, once again, there's still people that believe that this is a golden generation. I am not one of those people. But it is definitely one of our brighter crop of players that we've seen. Not brighter crop. I would say more resourced crop of players that we've had in years. This is, once again, like me and Kelcey have talked previously, this is the first generation of players that have actually had a true player pathway to pro, having an academy system, having some sort of youth level initiative towards some sort of MLS team or some sort of club team. Youth soccer is very unique, and I can spend hours talking about it, but obviously this is not this conversation. But there's just and obviously the pathway that Weston McKennie isn't the same as the pathway that it is now with MLS Next Pro and MLS Next and blah blah blah. But this is the first crop of players that have that resource versus somehow have a college find me and we'll go from there. Like Clint Dempsey. Who would have thought a guy from Nacogdoches, Texas, small town, finds his way into a college and then gets drafted into the New England Revolution and then goes and plays with Fulham and had that weird period at Tottenham. I didn't particularly like that part. I still supported him, but I didn't really like that part too much. But yeah, like the player pathway was very not clear for U.S. soccer for quite some time, and this is the first crop of players that really had that true player pathway. So that and that is where some people have this this confusion of whether this is a golden generation, which it is not.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything you just said. We talked about it last time, was on the show where this generation, if we're going to classify it as anything, this is our kind of like silver age. This is our brightest hopefuls that we've ever had in the standpoint of, yes, they have a player path. Yes, they have the most talent. Yes, they have the most resources. Yes, they're getting seen a lot more. But there's a generation right behind them led by somebody like Kevin Sullivan, who is even brighter, right? And that's what we want. That as a U.S. Soccer Federation is we want to have a pathway for just churning players out that can be superstars at any given point in time for the club team, and then parlay that into a career with the national team, where we have 34, 44 guys that are actually legitimately in rotation in the men's national team. And as much as I don't like the idea of Pochettino, to go back to him for just a second, is, the reason I don't like him is purely from a club management standpoint. But as a training and using young, talented players and progressing their talents to get the best out of them, I like him a lot more. So as the U.S. national team manager, that's why I'm iffy about it. I don't necessarily love it, but I don't absolutely hate it. I just am I don't like it because I don't like his tactical changes throughout the game. And also the antiquated strategies and practice and things like that. Do they really work? I don't know. I'm a little half and half on that. But his ability to get the best out of young players and to progress them forward is what I want from a U.S. manager. I don't need a Berhalter where he's a encouragement guy. I need a guy who's literally going to get in there in the weeds and tell Pulisic to, you know what? Instead of passing that backwards, go run at that defender. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Look at Heung-min Son. He came in under Pochettino. Dele Alli came in under Pochettino.
Some of his better years.
And they were the best years of their career. They were the most growth they've ever had as a player. Obviously, Son, for example, is a superstar now. But he got that growth and that talent from Pochettino playing with him. Some of the best Harry Kane we ever got, what put Harry Kane on the map, was playing with Pochettino. So there are pieces of Pochettino's management style that I love. Obviously, the 4-2-3-1 is nice for the U.S. as far as what we have today. But I do think there's pieces of this that I am concerned about, obviously. Just, in-game management. I've complained enough about that with, Greg Berhalter and past coaches. Everybody basically since Bob Bradley the first time. I've had problems with as far as their inability to make it changes during a game. But this is one that, like, for the future of U.S. soccer, I don't hate it as much. And we talked about this. If we're really going to talk about a golden generation for U.S. soccer, this is something that we're building towards to set the groundwork in 2026 in the World Cup. And what I mean by that is, we talked about the last time, we want the kids that are going to be sitting in an elementary school watching the World Cup to think, I want to be the next great U.S. men's national team player. And so in 2030, 2035, 2040, those years, that's when I really first see us having a golden generation, because we finally just have the initial stages of the groundwork. If anybody knows how the houses are built, we basically just have laid the rebar. Now we're laying the foundation on top of the rebar to make sure that's a structurally sound foundation for the future. That's what I want 26 to be for the U.S. I don't care how pretty it looks. And I hope Pochettino doesn't care how pretty it looks. Because if he's the guy, I think there's an opportunity here that we will at the very least do better than we just did in the Copa, and we'll get out of a group stage. But I also think that there's some buy-in that needs to happen from players, and that's always a concern with these young players that we have currently in the staff, is in the team. There are question marks there, but there's enough of a big crop that I think with Pochettino having enough time 2 years really to get in there and actually start to get his game plan situated and get his mentality situated into the and pushed onto these players for this run in the World Cup. I think there's an opportunity that the U.S. could do something they've never done before, or at the very least, make it to a semis and match the best result we've ever had. And that's the goal I want, because these kids are the ones, when we got in 2002 to the semis, that were just being born. So when they were in middle school and or in elementary school and middle school, they were being told by coaches, be the McBrides, be that team from 2002 that made it the furthest that they've ever made. You know, that's what we want in the next crop to make our golden generation. But right now, we're almost there, but we're not there yet. Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't going to be the guys that win the World Cup. And if they are, thank goodness. But if it's not, that's not the worst thing that'll ever happen. So I think Pochettino will be good. There are parts that I just think he himself as a manager, and I think he'll admit this, he needs to get better at. And that's just part of managing. You kind of have to grow with it through the ages. And that's, he has been out of the job for a year almost. So can he turn that into something for the future? I don't know yet, but I'm a little more positive than it sounded earlier, but not by a whole lot.
Well, he actually left the job this past season. But
sorry, it's been a couple months.
Yeah. I think the concerns are there, obviously, for Pochettino. Not like, he's not the sexiest of managers, obviously. Renard was when it comes to sexiness. So I feel like we missed that bullet there. But I think at least the things that, like, one, it's not a safety U.S. soccer pick. Yeah. The safe U.S. soccer pick was Cherundolo. Mm-hmm. Cherundolo would have been the one where everyone was just like, it's just another Berhalter. Everyone would have felt the same way. Wilfried Nancy, if they somehow found a way to get him out of that Columbus Crew contract, which I just don't think was going to be possible, that was going to be one of those, like, can he do it? I don't know, but I'm willing to see what happens. And I mean the same thing with Matarazzo, Pellegrino Matarazzo from Hoffenheim. Same situation where I know what he can do in Germany. I know he has that German influence. Do I know what he's going to do on the international stage? Obviously, international is different from club, but I'm willing to see it out. And I think with Pochettino, yes, there's some question marks on his resume. Not the prettiest of resumes, and honestly, some of his best work was with that Tottenham team. And honestly, like you mentioned it, look how, I mean, aside from Dele Alli, which I just feel like, unfortunately, just people just stopped believing. He didn't have that manager that believed in him like
Jose Mourinho was the worst thing that happened for Dele Alli.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is for me on that part. And so I think, but when you look at Heung-min Son, world-class player, a lot of that comes from Mauricio Pochettino's influence. Same thing goes to Harry Kane. So there's question marks on his resume, but I think his Tottenham time shows how well he can develop a team. Chelsea was just a rough place to go into. I don't expect you could have Pep Guardiola in that situation. I don't think he could do it as well. That is a tough job to manage. PSG, if you don't have a trophy out of PSG, what are we doing? So
yeah.
I mean, Thomas Tuchel has a trophy with PSG, so that sounds mean.
Antoine Villas-Boas also has a trophy from PSG.
Yeah.
So anybody remember that name? That's a callback.
Yeah. I'm surprised Jose Mourinho didn't go there. He's too busy getting yellow cards in Turkey now.
No, he doesn't want that big of a trophy. He wants he wanted to complete that trifecta for European Cups.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, so as far as Pochettino goes, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it is. I'm surprised that U.S. Soccer even went this route to even go for at least go for Pochettino. It's still in some sense a big name. European influence, specifically Spanish, which I do like. I do like the Spanish influence. But I do love his development. I do love his ability to develop players. And I think especially with this young group of players that we have, because we have a lot of guys under the age of 23 on this roster currently, that could do wonders for him. I mean, just to name a few players that I think of that are of note as far as the under 23 range. Obviously, Johnny Cardozo, who I feel like has jumped over Tyler Adams now as far as the sixth role.
Is anybody ready to have that conversation yet? I don't know.
Greg Berhalter didn't. I think Pochettino will be that guy that will look at that. Especially because Tyler Adams can't even play a full game. And that hurts as a Tyler Adams fan. You have Yunus Musa at your exposed which man can literally play anywhere on the attacking side of the field, and obviously can still play in the midfield. So a real Swiss Army knife, if you will, of a player. You have Gio Reyna. Hopefully you can get something out of him, and once again we'll do our best, Pochettino, to keep the Reyna family away from you. We'll try, and I can't promise you anything. Those they couldn't kill
finds his way in
Berhalter.
the caps.
They couldn't even kill Berhalter, so
They tried.
not very well. I mean, Gaga Sanina is going to be an interesting name in the next coming years. Obviously, Schulte. The goalkeeper position is very wide open now. I'm sorry, but Turner, you got to get the fuck out of Nottingham.
Go somewhere you're actually
go back to the MLS, bro. Like, you need to go somewhere you're going to get fucking minutes.
He played more at Arsenal than he has in Tottenham, or than he has at Nottingham. How crazy is that to think about?
It's insane. At least you were playing FA Cup matches when you were at Arsenal.
Yeah,
like,
at least you got time.
It is insane to me. But yeah, those names, obviously, there's a lot of young players that I think are really interesting. Taylor Booth is one that I'm still intrigued by. Kevin Paredes could be. I want to see how he does at Wolfsburg. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, man, there's some options here, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he develops the team. Unfortunately, not many center backs, and that's kind of heartbreaking for me. But
I think there's center backs to be developed. But then again, let's think Pochettino's best teams didn't necessarily have the best center backs either. It was slower center backs, older center backs, but they weren't necessarily the best. Granted, I'm not saying bring back in Tim Ream, but at the same time, there's some talented.
Does this improve the odds for John Brooks?
Oh gosh. Does it improve the odds that John Brooks actually plays in a U.S. jersey versus just looks like he's a man out there? Like I was playing center back. I don't know. But yes, I think he's going to get an opportunity. I just don't know if he's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, so a lot of interesting question marks from Mauricio Pochettino. So far, I think the consensus is we're cautiously optimistic of what is going to come for the U.S. I think props to the U.S. for going different. Obviously, last time they went different, they got Jurgen Klinsmann, and I still defend that man to this day. I don't think he ruined U.S. soccer. U.S. soccer ruined him.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think him being taken over the player management role was the player development role, I should say. That was the mistake.
Yeah.
But as a manager, I think he was fine.
Which I think that was the thing for me with Jurgen Klinsmann, because obviously this is a big person. Jurgen Klinsmann was a big personality.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it kind of caused some friction between him and U.S. soccer. Mauricio Pochettino does not necessarily have a very huge ego. He's like, yes, he's in some sense a name, but there's some sort of level of humility.
He's Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah.
As far as managers go, he's the Thomas Tuchel of managers, where he just kind of comes in and does his own thing. And if you let him do his own thing, it usually works out pretty well.
Which, I mean, U.S. soccer is letting him stay in Europe. So, I mean,
yeah.
So he doesn't have to move to Chicago. He's just hanging out.
I would want to stay out of Chicago too if I was managing the team.
So, which, if you guys didn't know, that's where U.S. soccer headquarters is in Chicago, Illinois. But yeah, so obviously the consensus, like I said, is probably cautiously optimistic, hoping for the best. We'll see how Mauricio Pochettino does. I believe September will be his debut as a manager for the U.S. Obviously, if everything gets handled on the on the paperwork side, on the legal side of things. But yeah, it looks like Mauricio Pochettino will be the new coach of the U.S. men's national team. And like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic, and optimistic is actually a word I would probably put more emphasis on.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. I am also cautiously optimistic, maybe a little bit more in the in between cautiously and optimistic. But yeah, I don't know. It can't. I don't want to say those words because it could get worse, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it could get worse than what we were just watching. I guess if Gareth Southgate come in, maybe it's worse.
All I know is if I see one pass back to the center back and watching him trying to make a pass when we're supposed to have this awesome midfield, I'm gonna lose my shit immediately. I'm gonna just say
five guys in a midfield guarded by 3, and they can't string 2 passes together. Please make it make sense per halter.
I will tweet Pochettino out immediately if I see a pass to the back.
I'm right there with you.